Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Thank you for stopping by. I'm always grateful. Please note we've had a change of plan, and I'll be hosting Mindspeak this Saturday at the Intercontinental, and we serve breakfast from 9:30. And I thought I'd cover a view of the world, geopolitics, economics, Africa, and a roadmap for the markets. But there's so much to talk about actually, and I'm just working on the presentation now. So 9:30 a.m. that's this Saturday the 17th, Intercontinental. You're most welcome, and it's a very fruitful discussion. We've been a little bit quiet of late, but we've got plenty of folks coming on board. My piece over the weekend was about how central banks are suppressing bond yields and how it's not going to last forever. And I quoted Hotel California, mirrors on the ceiling, the pink champagne on ice. And she said, we're all just prisoners here of our own device. Last thing I remember, I was running for the door. I had to find the passage back to the place I was before. Relax, said the night man, we are programmed to receive. You can check out any time you like, but you can never leave. What is clear is that we are at the fag end of this party. Then Mark Gilbert wrote a piece in Bloomberg Bond Markets hit another Ukrainian chicken moment. Two European companies, French drug maker Sanofi and German household products maker Henkel, last week became the first firms to persuade investors to pay them to borrow euros. By selling bonds yielding minus 0.05%, they may well have signaled the bond market's peak, delivering this decade's equivalent of the Ukrainian chicken farm moment. The phrase refers to the 2006 sale of $250 million of bonds by Mironovsky Hilbo Product, which according to its description on the Bloomberg terminal, is a vertically integrated producer of poultry products in Ukraine. Few investors had ever heard of the Ukrainian chicken breeder, but with an interest rate north of 10%, buyers were clamoring for the MHP bonds. Bill Blaine, currently at Mint Partners in London, was one of the bankers who brought the deal to market. He recalls the bidding frenzy. It was massively oversubscribed. A few weeks later, bird flu broke out in Hong Kong. The chicken farm was uninsured. The market immediately discounted the notes and the price crashed 30% or more. That moment of supreme belief when anything is possible in the new issues market will always be remembered as the Ukrainian chicken farm moment. An investor who buys some of Sanofi's 1 billion euros of bonds and holds them until they're repaid in 3 years is guaranteed to lose money. The same goes for owners of Henkel's 500 million euros of 2-year notes. It's the equivalent of lending $1.05 to your neighbor, knowing that you'll only be repaid $1. Home thoughts, I call this picture Ricardo, the world is yours, Germano Mila. We were in Ilha de Luanda. He was completely captivated by the lights of Luanda that shone in front of him. He looked like he was thinking about his future, so why do I think Ricardo will shape the continent over the next 10 years? Because the children of Africa are our biggest hope. The new generation has a lot of work to do, but I believe in them, and I believe in Ricardo. From Roald Dahl, the twits, if you have good thoughts, they will shine out of your face like sunbeams, and you will always look lovely. Let me put up a photograph of clouds reflected in Lake Magadi. I haven't been there for a while. Lovely place to visit. Then I was reading some Kiswahili poetry in translation, admittedly, and I came across this, the central thematic concern in Al-Inkishafi is mortal life. This world is a raving sea. It harbours in plenty reefs and evils. Whoever rides it is a rebel. Every loss comes his way. The great men of Pate lived in splendid houses characterized by graceful lighting, beautiful utensils, and rail upon rail of fanciful clothes. In these houses, merriment and joy were the order of the day, we are told. Their lit mansions glittered with lanterns of crystal and brass. Night went by like days, surrounded they were by fame and honor. Graced they were by select china ware, and every gobbet was engraved. In their midst they placed crystal pitchers among enchanting ornaments, rails of fanciful clothes. I swear by God, Lord, the bountiful were of teak wood and ebony, full rail upon full rail. The men's halls resonated, and the hind quarters vibrated with voices of slaves and servants. Happiness and merriment rang out. In attractive sleeping quarters and beds laid with mattresses, green pillows at the head and feet embroidered to exquisite finesse. Lovely fabrics they had, canopied over the couches, sprinkled with perfumed water and scented with sandalwood and attars. The above portrait of riches, power, and grandeur is forcefully contrasted with that of a town in ruins and desolation. The elegant houses and the luxurious life are no more. In their place we find ruins where young bats leisurely suspend themselves on rafters. Spiders have spanned webs, and owls cry out. Now sleep they in fingers span without carpets or mattresses. Their bodies are blemished, agonized by the grave's confinement. Their cheekbones are damaged, pus and blood oozed out. From the nostrils creep out worms, changed is their nobility and countenance. They have become food for worms, chewed are their bodies. White and black ants feed on them, and upon them serpents are entwined. The radiant faces have darkened to an ape's or mountain bear's countenance. Lacerated are their skins, and shriveled are their bones and flesh. Pretty powerful stuff, I thought. I like the look of this. La Nouvelle Espérance du Chef E. Sugimoto. I love Yu's approach to cuisine. His philosophy is Japanese, and everything is impeccable. There's a certain zenness to it, but the execution is 100% French. It's pretty tasty. Let's move on. Political Reflections, a very hard-hitting essay by Mohammad Javad Zarif. Let us rid the world of Wahhabism. This is in the New York Times. Public relations firms with no qualms about taking tainted petrodollars are experiencing a bonanza. Their latest project has been to persuade us that the Nusra Front, Al-Qaeda's affiliate in Syria, is no more. As a Nusra spokesman told CNN, the rebranded rebel group, supposedly separated from its parent terrorist organization, has become moderate. Thus is fanaticism from the Dark Ages sold as a bright vision for the 21st century. The problem for the PR firms is wealthy, often Saudi clients who have lavishly funded Nusra, is that the evidence of their ruinous policies can't be photoshopped out of existence. Saying millions of people faced with the Nusra Front's tyranny are not buying the fiction of this disaffiliation. And saying the fact that Nusra still dominates the rebel alliance in Aleppo flouts the public relations message. Saudi Arabia's efforts to persuade its Western patrons to back its short-sighted tactics is based on the false premise that plunging the Arab world into further chaos will somehow damage Iran. The fanciful notions that regional stability will help to contain Iran, and that supposed rivalries between Sunni and Shiite Muslims are fueling conflicts, are contradicted by the reality that the worst bloodshed in the region is caused by Wahhabists fighting fellow Arabs and murdering fellow Sunnis. Then saying, while these extremists, with the backing of their wealthy sponsors, have targeted Christians, Jews, Yazidis, Shiites, and other heretics, it is their fellow Sunni Arabs who have been most beleaguered by this exported doctrine of hate. Saying that the princes in Riyadh, the Saudi capital, have been desperate to revive the regional status quo of the days of Saddam Hussein's rule in Iraq, when a surrogate repressive despot, eliciting wealth and material support from fellow Arabs and a gullible West, countered the so-called Iranian threat. There is only one problem. Mr. Hussein is long dead. The clock cannot be turned back. The sooner Saudi Arabia's rulers come to terms with this, the better for all. The new realities in our region can accommodate even Riyadh, should the Saudis choose to change their ways. Explaining what it means. I like this tweet from Nicholas Kristof. It's remarkable that an Iranian leader can denounce a US ally for Islamic extremism, and that he has a point. Put up a photograph of John Kerry and Mohammed Zarif, and I'm sure it was a lot of that personal chemistry that pushed that Iranian deal over the line. Donald Trump fans think Hillary Clinton used a body double after her 9/11 memorial collapse. And then I thought this was very pertinent. I will hardly be the first to observe that all of us, and especially famous people, now live in a digital panopticon, where at any moment our actions may be observed, videotaped and uploaded to the internet, nor that the web has democratized publishing, creating what law professor Glenn Reynolds has dubbed an army of Davids, willing and able to attack the powerful. Nor that the amazing proliferation of data and records on the web has given those Davids an array of weapons far more powerful than a slingshot. Why has the news not yet reached Hillary Clinton? If you collapse in public and you're famous, the odds are that this event has not been captured on someone's cell phone are starting to approach zero. And the odds that this video will be seen by virtually every American are starting to approach 100%, because there are no longer any gatekeepers to bully. Trying to control stories like the old Clinton spin machine is like trying to fight World War II with tactical maneuvers that worked for Caesar's legions. Can't say that's wrong. Essentially how a smartphone camera changed the discussion on Clinton's health. President Obama said Clinton's a leader who will break down barriers and blast through glass ceilings. I think Donald Trump has a real chance, far better than the chances as predicted by the prediction markets. Turkey has formally requested that the US arrest Fethullah Gulen over the failed coup. I like this photograph of members of the Chinese People's Liberation Army paying their respects to the body of Mao Tse-tung in China, and saying that the spirit of the Chinese people finds a focus on Chairman Mao's body. He famously said, a revolution is not a dinner party or writing an essay or painting a picture or doing embroidery. It cannot be so refined, so leisurely and gentle, so temperate, kind, courteous, restrained and magnanimous. A revolution is an insurrection, an act of violence by which one class overthrows another. Then he famously said, women hold up half the sky. Put up some Andy Warhol's portraits of him. Everything under heaven is in utter chaos. The situation is excellent. Fund managers see EU disintegration as the biggest tail risk. Have a look at this from Holger. High-frequency traders elbow their way into the currency markets. Well, we would expect them to, given the enormous size. Algorithmic traders have more than tripled foreign exchange volumes over the last 3 years. Somebody else saying it was definitely the defining moment. It was very, very important to us that we did not stop providing liquidity throughout that event. That's Brexit. Let's move on to the currency markets now and have a look. Euro 112.27, dollar index 95.55, Japanese yen 102.97. Swissy 0.9765, the pound 131.98, it's ratcheted a bit lower, inflation missed. Aussie, that's back below 0.75, 0.7478. India rupee 66.985, South Korean won 11.2597, the Real 331.38, Egyptian pound 887.73, South African rand 14.40.96. I'll put up a 1 year chart of sterling. We're around the 132 figure. You buy it with a stop at 127.50. Sterling touched a 31-year low of 127.98. That was on July 6. It's still down about 11% versus the dollar since the Brexit vote. Consumer prices rose 0.6% annually in August, which was less than expected. US 3-month LIBOR now stands at 0.86%, and this has been rising as new money market fund rules curb investor demand for companies' short-term debt. Interesting development, that. Gold, let's take a look at that, 1321.19. I think we're looking to take a visit to 1304 again. Crude oil, $45.12 when I checked last. Put up a 1 year chart. We're still in this 40-50 range in WTI where we've been all year. Emerging markets, look at this pattern showing you the correlation between how when the Mexican peso falls, Trump tends to be gaining ground. Sub-Saharan Africa, UK failed to prevent Libya chaos after Gaddafi lawmakers say. UK policy in Libya before and since the intervention of March 2011 was founded on erroneous assumptions and an incomplete understanding of the country and the situation. The UK would have lost nothing by trying these instead of focusing exclusively on regime change by military means. Britain drifted into a policy of regime change, repeated its mistakes in Iraq by failing to plan properly for Libya's government after Gaddafi was overthrown. Having led the intervention with France, we had a responsibility to support Libyan economic and political reconstruction, Blunt said, but our lack of understanding of the institutional capacity of the country stymied Libya's progress in establishing security on the ground and absorbing financial and other resources from the international community. It may be that the UK government was unable to analyse the nature of the rebellion in Libya due to incomplete intelligence and insufficient institutional insight, and that it was caught up in events as they developed. It could not verify the actual threat to civilians posed by the Gaddafi regime. It selectively took elements of Gaddafi's rhetoric at face value, and it failed to identify the militant Islamist extremist element in the rebellion. That's a fact. Mogadishu is to host IGAD Heads of State Summit, the first of such events in decades. Congratulations to them. I'll also put up a photograph of the Villa Somalia. Have a look at the interview I did with Nerea, who's hosting the Latin American, Caribbean, Africa Summit in November. I like this photograph of Jacob Zuma. He says there is no dispute with his finance minister. South Africa is still standing despite Jacob Zuma, says Bloomberg. Take a look. They are the biggest recipient of FDI in Africa. The rand has gained 7.3% against the dollar this year and is the fourth best performer among 24 emerging market countries monitored by Bloomberg. The South African all-share up 4.17% this year. Dollar rand, let me put up a 6-month chart. We're in sort of the middle of it. We could strengthen a little bit if the political noise starts to come down, but let's see. Egyptian EGX 30 up 16.87% this year. Foreign airlines flying to Nigeria have started to refuel abroad to bypass pricey and increasingly scarce fuel. The economy is crying out for investment, and now it is going to be even harder for anyone to visit. Who is going to want to park $1 billion in a country that you can't even easily fly to? It sends the worst possible signal. Nigeria all-share down 3.72% this year. Have a look at this Ghana Eurobond yield. This is a story of what's happened across the continent, but it tells you how the search for yield rallied particularly frontier bond market yields. Ghana Stock Exchange is down 10.61% this year. I like this article in the New York Times, The Wave Riders of Dakar. I don't really surf that much, but I've always had this romantic notion of the culture. The movie Endless Summer stopped in Senegal. So I thought it would be cool to visit the same breaks that we were surfing in the film. Even in the smaller villages like Ngor, the kids take broken boards and try to emulate the surfers. One of the most famous breaks is right off Ngor Island. You have to take a boat, either a fishing boat or one of the restaurant boats to get to the island. Look at this photo of Gala Samba walking to secret spot. He used to watch his older brothers and they tried to discourage him so he would concentrate on school, but now he's better than them. Kenya Central Bank has set the CBR, that's the central bank rate, as the base rate as opposed to the KBRR. Central banks and lenders should peg their loans to the central bank rate or CBR in line with the new law capping costs, and as the IMF warned that legislation limiting how much lenders charge for credit risks impeding access to loans. Kenya introduced restrictions on borrowing costs that set commercial rates at 400 basis points above a central bank base rate. Most banks, which have to comply by September 14, had said they'd peg loans on the CBR, that's currently at 10.45%. The Commercial Bank of Africa said it would price debt on the KBRR rate, which is at 8.9%. So now that's been established. Persistently high spreads between deposit and loan rates cause understandable frustration among borrowers about the cost of credit and has produced political pressure for interest rate controls. This is IMF Deputy Managing Director Mitsuhiro Furusawa, but he warned that the politicization of monetary policy bears risks for a sound financial system and for credit access, especially to risky borrowers. Linking deposit and lending rates to the central bank's policy rate may compromise the independence of the central bank, hamper its ability to enact monetary policy towards achieving its main objectives. This is to maintain price and financial stability and to support the economy. Visa has introduced a mobile money product to rival Safaricom's M-Pesa. The M-Visa app will initially facilitate transactions for people with accounts in 4 banks, including KCB, Cooperative Bank, according to Visa Emerging Markets Senior Vice President Uttam Nayak. The company estimates 84 million of Africa's mobile phone users still pay by cash. Kenya shilling at 101.199. Nairobi all-share edged up 0.07% yesterday. It's down 9.69% this year, but 1.488% above its multi-year low from September 5. NSE 20 is down 20.22% year-to-date, but 3.43% above a multi-year low from the 30th of August. There's a link for every listed share. Of course, yesterday the market edged up slightly. Safaricom was the most actively traded share, closed unchanged at 19, but was a little bit softer to the close as that news came out about Visa. Kenya Airways had 1,162% more buyers than sellers. Share price rallied 6.84% to close at 390. Was trading at session highs of 4 at the finish line. TPS Serena up 3.49%. Equity Group down 0.95%, down 27.77% since that bill was announced. KCB ticked 2.65% lower. EABL rebounded 2.54% to close at 242. That's oversold and there's a meaningful amount of upside there. TransCentury closed 5.13% higher, up an eye-popping 127.77% this year. Kengen up 10.833% this month. Flametree Group announced that they have opened up a new plastic water tank facility in Nampula in Mozambique. And therefore, I wish you a great day, and I also hope to see you at MindSpeak. There is a breakfast from 9:30, we'll start at 10. And there's so much to talk about, isn't there? I mean, geopolitics, goodness, I was just looking through the photography of G20 this time and the previous time when Putin was the outcast or the outlaw. I was thinking about the South China Sea and how the Indian Ocean is also part of that, and Shinzo Abe said as much, and about that particular contestation we're seeing. Trump, I think he's going to win now, I really do. There's so much more than that. And then the markets looking at interest rates, negative interest rates, how long can this continue? Commodity markets, Africa, we were surfing a real rising tide. We're not now. The challenges, how do I see it? What kind of mistakes, or who's the outlier on the positive side in dealing with these things, who isn't, what's going to happen? And then, of course, we got plenty of issues here in East Africa to discuss as well. Once again, hope to see you there.